Hi. So, let's talk about Nicholas Cruz. You know, earlier I was at the gym and I looked up, and of course I'm subjected to seeing CNN there. Of course, what they're showing is a clip of Nicholas Cruz wearing a Make America Great Again hat. No reference, nothing said showing that CNN acknowledges also his garb with ANTIFA and his interactions with discussions of being an ISIS sympathizer. Just the Make America Great Again hat. So let me roll back and first say to everyone who's experiencing that pain right now because they know someone, they've been personally affected in some way from this shooting in Florida, you have my condolences. There's no words to really say that. And in these times, it seems like there's always going to be someone who wants to point fingers, whether it to be at the guns, or it's always made political. It seems it's always made political, if not by our politicians, then by the media. It's capitalizing on people's emotions is what it does. That's what it capitalizes on. Now, it's been a minute since I've looked at, literally just a few hours since I've looked at the internet to see what the latest buzz is. Obviously, it is very reminiscent of the December 2012 Sandy Hook, Connecticut shooting in some regards. Although, and you have to set your emotions aside when you do compare and contrast. It seems really cold and callous, and there are some people who cannot do that, and with valid reasons. But for those who can, it is important to separate the emotion from it and look at facts. Unfortunately, we live in a world where we cannot rely on the media to give us the facts. All the media does is give us political opinion that's been spoon-fed to them to give us. And we all know that the media is leftist. If you don't know that by now, you're not really going to agree with or follow much of anything that I'm saying. I invite you to still stay and watch, but that's the fact. The leftists run the media, okay? And the agenda is to make President Trump look bad. And I'm at work now, so I don't have the ability to kind of upload this and interject in the video itself the screen caps of how they're already reflecting this to being negative with President Trump, but I'll go ahead and post the links in the description box, so do check there for those, because that's exactly what they're doing. It's as if President Trump pulled the trigger. Now, I find it fascinating because CNN all last week, I couldn't look up at that damn television and not see them showing Porter, the domestic abuse with Porter, somehow as if Trump was directly involved in that domestic dispute. Now, I'm not discounting domestic disputes. Are they covering something that's international? No. Are they covering something that if the corner is that it's the corruption of how they lied for Porter? Okay, what about the international news of the corruption of the United States of America's Department of Justice and Federal Bureau of Investigations colluding with the Democratic National Committee and the then running Hillary Clinton, along with the former president of the United States, President Obama, to collude with the Russians to gain access and create lies to overthrow a democratically elected president? I mean, I think that's a bigger story than the domestic abuse one. Personally, I mean, personally, I think that's a bigger story. Now, when I look at the news and how they're covering this school shooting, and I'm resisting to click on this CNN thing right here in front of me right now. That's from an hour ago uploaded. Oh, shit, no, I'll go ahead and click on it. So let me see. Oh, so now they're showing the social media paints a picture of a racist professional school shooter. Now they had the screen cap showed the ANTIFA whenever he was in the ANTIFA gear. The thing is, even though, let me turn that down. Even though there's the tremendous nature of computer generated imagery can make anything look like anything else. But when you have events like this and are involved with mass amount of people, you're not going to be able to cover all of it. Their goal is to throw enough disinformation out there so that people can't really discern. They get frustrated with the facts, or they just side with whoever blindly. We can't do that. We no matter what side of the political spectrum you're on, you cannot let fear of sharing the wrong information prevent you from sharing any information, and you cannot let people get by spreading lies, even if they're on, quote, your team. Now, yesterday I posted something on Twitter, and it was early in the day when they first released that photo of Cruz, which was alleged to be Cruz, in the ANTIFA garb. Not on his page, it was like the outside photo. So I posted that. Now today, after looking at live coverage and looking at his ears, thinking, yeah, it would suggest that that photo is not accurate. There's a lot of discerning that people have to do with themselves, and how they're assessing information. I found that there's a good segment of people that just don't even want to listen. They don't want to listen to facts. They just want to be told what it is. And some of those same people will complain when they're not told the truth, but then where's their own discernment? So I went back and I followed up on that tweet about it not seeming like to be the same person. Am I going to feel like I shouldn't share information because, oh, well, what if I'm wrong? Let me wait. No. Do you think that the people who are trying to brainwash everyone are going to do that? No, part of their strategy is to make people who aren't lunatics feel like they shouldn't say something, or that they'll be considered a lunatic if they share wrong information, and that'll be it. So they don't say anything. Yeah, I don't have that fucking problem. If somebody wants to say I'm wrong, I am happy to say, okay, I was wrong. I usually don't come out of the gate suggesting that I'm right. I usually come out of the gate suggesting, hey, look at this. Hey, what about this? Kind of like with the whole Sandy Hook school shooting. Now, I do not believe the narrative on that. I do not think these two are the same whatsoever. How much infiltration into this scenario the government and so forth will have on twisting it and making it and cultivating it to be their own is yet to be seen. That situation came out of the gate with a very controlled fashion. Completely different. I'm not saying nobody died there. I know other people have that same opinion. I don't really kind of get into the intricate facts because, of course, I don't know. I think that these two situations are very different. There are already people who are saying these are all crisis actors. It's a little premature to say that. Evidence would suggest that might not be accurate. But when you have a certain cocktail of things like people on meds, which is a huge problem. Over-medication is a huge problem. And the brainwashing that goes on in the school system. No, you're not going to hear that. You're not going to hear about the maladaptive, fucked up brainwashing that goes on in the school systems day in and day out. Okay? You won't hear about that. You won't hear about specific medication that people are taking, over-medicated, mismanaged on their medications that are related to these same things. But what you're going to hear about are the guns. And all common sense goes out the window whenever people start thinking that more gun laws are going to prevent anything. And I understand people are thinking from an emotional standpoint, because of course everybody wants our children to be protected. Nobody wants to be in this situation where there's a shooter. I got a call one day, text message one day, when there was active shooter at one of my children's schools. And when he texts me, I don't even want to get into even the particulars of it because it's very emotional. Nobody wants that. I don't care where you are on the spectrum. You do not want to ever deal with that personally. So to blame the Republicans as that one, you know, that one Chelsea handler or whatever, to go out there and start blaming, shame on you. You know, she's just a celebrity whore. I mean, she's out there to be used as a mouthpiece for people that prop her up who just don't know any better. Anyway, so yeah, now let's see. And I'll post links to anything I might refer to. You can't trust anything that the mainstream news has to say. And while I do trust Fox a little more than the other ones, I listen to them with a grain of salt as well, because they're only given so much information and allowed to say so many things as well. And it is a matter of permission, of being allowed. So the fact is that no more, if there were 25,000 extra laws, him having weapons or access to weapons, and I don't have all the details, I just know that everyone talks about his history of mental health. That in it right there would be a no-go. I mean, there's no way that someone's going to tell me that he legally procured these firearms if he filled out his paperwork appropriately and didn't lie. Now, who does a back check on that? I don't know. You know, and then there was information that the FBI had. It seems like there were so many clues. They want to impose, people are talking about imposing more gun laws. Then there's a history of this kid showing that he was going to commit violence. You can't get more, it can't be given any clearer to people. If that isn't enough, you want to punish the masses of law-abiding citizens because somewhere the FBI, I think the FBI, funding should be pulled with the FBI. Did Trump say that he was actually going to give them more money and more funding? For what? For what? They need to cut their staff in half. Obviously, they're not doing their jobs. They're too busy doing all this other shit, paging back, texting back and forth, about how they hate Trump. To hell to give them a fucking raise and stuff. I have to do more research on that, but from my information right here is that, they're getting more funding. That's just bullshit. I mean, what the hell is that about? I know this is a little scattered. Informal vlogging is all this is, because I haven't done it for a minute. And this is, I know, something on everyone's mind. I guess in short, if you put information out there, if you post stuff and if you come across information, try to use some discernment before you share it. Share it, and if you come across other information that negates it, no matter what side it's on, then share that. We have to be honest about our sharing of information. We can't be worried that what information we're sharing isn't completely accurate, because we'll get pulverized. When I say I'm meaning anything that's not leftist. Fact of the matter is, this kid was 19 years old. He obviously knew how to operate weapons. I doubt he even understood how to wipe his own ass. So for him to actually have formed on his own regard any sort of political opinion is probably inaccurate to say. Of course, he could have been brainwashed, and this is what these extremist groups do, and this is why I don't identify with. Look, just for the record, having white pride is fucking fantastic. It's as fantastic as having any other kind of pride you have in yourself and your ethnicity. Nothing wrong with that. Being a nationalist is something that we should all do as Americans. to identify with a group that has been infiltrated, because that's what happens when you identify with these extremist groups. Do you think that these people are going to shed any sort of positive light on President Trump? No, they're not. No, they're not. It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating because you see these young people who are full of energy, who want to do something grand, and they get sucked up and swept up by these factions of manipulators who use them for every ill social regard. You know, I don't want to pick on the military. Some of the best men and women in the country are in the military. But this is, you know, they choose them young. They choose them young because they can manipulate them. You can break them down and brainwash them to have them do whatever you want. In everything in life, there are good and bad people. In everything, you know. Alright, so I'm probably going to cut it there because I have to go back out and do some work. I'll post some links in the description box. I just want to kind of go out there and throw my thoughts out there regarding what's going on with this. I think we're going to be hearing a lot about it, and we shouldn't let that shift our focus completely away from the other things that are going on that need to be addressed as well. You know, how coincidental that these things happen so close to whenever the shit's hitting the fan with what I think should be indictments for, you know, President Obama, Clinton for sure, Lynch, Comey, McCabe, like all of them, DOJ, FBI. No, I can go on down. I can track down conspiracy path and start talking about how many people, I wonder, have some sort of dormant MK Ultra programming, and they just are used like that in these cases because they need distraction. That's your conspiracy theorist shit there. You know, that's to be separated from, you know, and those aren't even like conspiracy theorists. Those are just like random thinking, you know, random thinking, what if, how if, you know. And I think that kind of expansive thinking is very important because it helps you to not be closed-minded. It helps you to see things in a bigger perspective. Now, if you start believing certain things like wholeheartedly without having any facts whatsoever, you have problems, you know. Just like some people, yeah, do that all the time. All right, I'm done rambling. I hope everybody has a good night and a good rest of the week. Alrighty, bye.